Now.
On 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
7:06, O'Connor and Company here this Wednesday morning, day after the New Hampshire primary, and we got you covered all across the board. Coming up in 30 minutes, Sean Spicer will join us to give us his analysis. And at 8:35, our friend John Andrasik, singer-songwriter, superstar from Five for Fighting. He's got a brand new song reflecting on the events of October 7th. We want you to hear that song and hear from John. That's all coming up. I'm Larry O'Connor. That right there, that's Julie Gunlock. Good morning, Julie Gunlock.
Good morning.
All right, let's get to it.
Well, I have news for all of them. New Hampshire is first in the nation. It is not the last in the nation. This race is far from over. There are dozens of states left to go.
Including South Carolina, which will be the next primary, but it's not until the 24th. There are a couple of caucuses before that, but that was Nikki Haley last night, coming in second place, second out of two, which is, last place. But she was 9 points behind Donald Trump by stitching together what appears to be a coalition of Democrats and undeclared, and a small fraction of her vote actually came from Republicans as well. Meanwhile, the chairwoman of the Republican Party, Ronna McDaniel, on Fox News last night.
Looking at the math and the path going forward, and I don't see it for Nikki Haley. I think she's run a great campaign, but I do think there is a message that's coming out from the voters, which is very clear. We need to unite around our eventual nominee, which is going to be Donald Trump.
All right, so which way does the RNC go here, and what is the message going forward? As Tommy Pigott joins us now, Director of Strategic Communications for the RNC. Well, you just heard your boss there, Tommy, say that it's time for Nikki Haley to drop out after just the first primary. What's the rationale there?
Well, I'd echo her words that she said last night as well, in that we've never had a nominee from our party that has not won either New Hampshire or Iowa. That's just looking back at the precedent in our party. And what our focus is on unity. We need to defeat Joe Biden. That's our ultimate message, is unity. We need to come together as Republicans to beat Joe Biden. There's too much at stake. He has done too much damage to our country. That's the message from voters. That's the message that they're saying loud and clear. Come together, beat Joe Biden. That's where our focus is. And just as our chair said, it's hard to see the path.
So for Nikki Haley's perspective, her reply would be, listen, if we measure this based on who wins New Hampshire and Iowa, then what's the point of having the other 48 states chime in, number one? But also, number two, if unity is the goal here, then what is your message to those people who supported Nikki Haley, who are Republicans?
Look, people in this primary process have considered the candidates. These candidates have run great campaigns. They've made their case to voters, really in a stark contrast to Democrats who have been hiding from voters. Republicans have gone out there and made that case. Republicans have set their strategies forward. For example, Ron DeSantis spent a lot of time in Iowa. And after the results in Iowa, he considered what had happened, and he made his decision to endorse President Trump. These candidates make different decisions about their strategy. So I think it's important as we get these results in. I understand the argument that there are 50 states and the process goes forward, but you have to really carefully consider what your strategy is, what expectations you've set, and then once these results come in, really look at them, consider how that affects your campaign going forward, and really decide if there's a path or not. And then ultimately, we need to make sure that we're putting our Republican nominee in the best position possible to beat Donald Trump, because if we don't win in November, we can't govern, and that's the most important thing.
Part of being in a good position is having sort of faith in the election process. And I think that voters are increasingly nervous. I mean, some of the rhetoric coming out of Democrats right now, I don't know what they're going to sound like closer to the election, but it is all, it's Armageddon if Trump gets the nomination. So, I think a lot of voters are concerned about the tricks and changes to the election process that we saw in previous elections. So what is the RNC doing to not only shore up election integrity, but to make voters feel like their vote will matter?
Twofold. One is that election integrity is a major priority for the Republican National Committee. We have a full-time election integrity team. We have staff on the ground in 15 states, 15 target states. We're engaged in lawsuits across the country defending common sense election integrity measures and stopping bad faith Democrat laws or bad faith Democrat attacks against these election integrity measures. That's a huge initiative for the Republican National Committee. And then second, once these rules are set, it's a poll watcher, poll observer program. And part of that election integrity program is to make sure that we're recruiting volunteers as poll watchers, as poll observers, to make sure that, so first, we're making sure that we work to set rules of the game that Americans want to see, and that we defend common sense laws, and that we stop bad faith Democrat attacks. And then two, that we have a robust program as this process goes forward to make sure that we have the observers on the ground to really make sure these safeguards are in place and being followed.
But you are engaged right now before the fact, because oftentimes we see mobilization after Election Day. What can you be specific about what's happening right now to ensure that the rules are set going into the election?
Yeah, so for example, we intervened in Georgia against bad faith Democrat attacks. We were intervening in New Hampshire against the bad faith Democrat attack against voter ID in New Hampshire. We're engaged in measures in support of legal measures to make sure that Democrat attempts to remove President Trump from the ballot aren't successful. Those are just a few examples. For other examples, Democrats in different jurisdictions are trying to have it so non-citizens can vote in American elections, which is absurd. The RNC is engaged in legal action against them as well. Those are a few examples to make sure that we're engaged in this election integrity operation, really to, like I said, fight back against bad faith Democrat attacks.
It is absurd to think that non-citizens can vote in our elections, but many Republicans last night found it absurd that non-Republicans could vote in the primary. Are you disturbed by that trend? It appears as though, especially from exit polling and exit interviews, that there were people who were bona fide Democrats who were Biden supporters who were engaged in voting for Nikki Haley just to mess things up.
Look, we'll see how large of a portion that was. We'll see as we get more exit polls exactly what happened there. And as we go forward, we'll see if that process changes or not. What is clear is the message from voters. That was still a loud and clear message last night, with President Trump winning in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
So that was the message that came out. So I understand that concern, but I think the broader message that voters are saying is to unite and defeat Joe Biden in November.
But is maybe you can enlighten us on the machinations of the RNC. Is it top down enough at the RNC where the D.C. body, the chair, can basically say, we only want Republicans choosing the Republican nominees. So states that have this open situation, we won't participate anymore because the Republican nominee should be chosen by registered Republicans.
And ultimately, that is what is going to happen. That is what is happening. But honestly, it's one of these processes that is a back and forth between state parties and national parties. It's a sort of a complex process by which these primaries are set, where the state parties often are the one running these processes. So it really is. It's not like the RNC can come in and set rules for these things, but it's a conversation between the two.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there. We're up against it. Tell the chairwoman we said hi. It's been a while since we've heard from her, since the Miami debate night. We'd love to have her back on the show.
All right, I will.
Thank you. Sean Spicer's going to join us also at 7:35 to discuss the results yesterday and the future contests in South Carolina and other states. That's all coming up. But in the meantime, at 7:15, WMAL traffic and weather.
WMAL, making sense of the headlines because common sense isn't so common. Download the WMAL app to stream us for free.
By the way, I just want to correct something real fast. I think I said at the beginning of that segment that Trump beat Nikki Haley by 9 points in New Hampshire. It was 11 points. Earlier this morning when we started our program, the last breakdown I saw showed it as a 9.5-point victory, but new returns must have come in there and shifted it. But it's right around 10 or 11 points, it looks like Trump won. In comparison, 2016, he won by 20 points over the second-place finish of John Kasich, also known as Nikki Haley with shorter hair.
There you go. There you go.
But I just want to make sure that the correct facts and information are out there. I'm very different than CNN that way.
Does it bring you back to your Kasich fever?
I never had Kasich fever.
Oh, okay.
But it does recall Asa fever in a big way. But let's not pick at that scab. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were in Northern Virginia with a laser light show celebration for killing babies. And he started off the night with a very strange greeting for Virginians.
Hello, Virginia. And the real governor, Terry McAuliffe.
Insurrection.
He's a denier. He is a denier. He's an election denier. What the hell? What does that even mean?
Yeah.
The real governor, Terry. I mean, we literally just had an election, and Terry McAuliffe was defeated soundly
Because he hates parents. There you go.
Youngkin, because he hates parents and loves porn in the schools.
Right.
That's a bit of an Jason Miyares, the Attorney General, said so. Joe Biden's an election denier.
There you go. It's always okay when they do it.
Glenn Youngkin retweeted that video and said, "Mr. President, I'm right here. I'm standing right here." So
I don't know that Joe Biden even remembers there was an election in Virginia involving Youngkin, and
or
I mean,
for
honestly,
that matter, he thinks that it's 10 years ago.
That's my point. Yeah, that he's
still vice president. Well,
right.
He often refers to himself as the senator from Delaware. That wasn't even the most nonsensical thing that he said last night, though.
Dear.
Listen to this one.
We'll teach Donald Trump a valuable lesson. Don't mess with the women in America unless you want to get the benefit.
You know, one of my favorite things that he does, I think, is when he says, "Let me just be perfectly clear." It always begins with, "I'm going to send a clear message," and then it's
and I like it when it's gibberish first, and then "I mean it," and you're like, "You mean what? What do you mean?
I mean it.
What do you
I'm
mean?"
Serious? Yeah.
A valuable lesson. Don't mess with the women in America unless you want to get the benefit.
I mean, it's hard to argue with that knowledge. With that,
I mean,
with
those foreign leaders are shaken in their boots.
Joe Biden was also heckled multiple times. Approximately 15 times he was interrupted by pro-Hamas terrorists. You know, his base.
That's right.
I don't know why they're heckling him. He's on their side, I think.
Yeah.
And afterwards, he was now we don't know who this was, whether it was people with the DNC, people with the White House, but someone was caught on a hot mic.
It was Governor Christie.
Talking about the Carrie Lake, perhaps. Right. Talking about the interruptions. Here, listen.
Well, that was interesting. But I guess that's the way it's going to be. That's going to happen constantly.
Yep.
They're going to have a lot more security laid out around the place. Oh, yeah. They learned today.
That was interesting. That's the way it's going to be. It's going to happen constantly. Going to have a lot more security laid. I thought these were the Democrats who were in favor of hearing every voice.
Yeah, well, when Hamas is part of your party, you gotta have security.
By the way, this is why the Hamas people show up for his events. Here he was talking at a different event yesterday. Or no, this was January 20. Yeah, yesterday in Manassas before the rally.
One of the things that when I spoke with Bibi, I've known him for 50 years. He has a portrait of me, and he and I, when he was a young member of the Israeli embassy, and I was a young senator.
The narcissism of this guy.
I know.
I've known Bibi for 15 years. He has a portrait of me.
That's right.
Oh,
I mean, don't forget, this is the guy who made the funeral of Tom Lantos about him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, he goes on to talk about Bibi, as he calls him.
Uh-huh.
And I wrote on it. He has a frame. Last time I was in his office, he had it on his desk. And I said, "Bibi, I love you, but I don't agree with the damn thing you had to say." And that's true.
Bibi, I love you, but I don't agree with the damn thing you have to say. And what is Bibi saying these days? You know, the people of Israel
have a right to exist.
Have a right to exist. Have a right to live. And their enemies who are murdering them in cold blood deserve to die. And Joe Biden doesn't believe in that.
No.
Doesn't believe in that. The bait and switch that he's doing with the people of Israel.
It's gross.
By pretending like he supports them. But this whole idea, the Biden administration is growing tired of the it's not. What do you mean you're tired? You're not out there fighting. The IDF.
Exactly.
When the IDF is tired, then we'll start talking.
Exactly.
It's despicable.
Just sit back on your beach and shut up.
But anyway, the entire rally yesterday, laser light show, looked like something Charlie Kirk would have set up, actually, with all the flashy lights and everything. It was all about ensuring that people can kill a baby before they're born. The message was restore Roe, but I don't even think this president knows what Roe v. Wade did. And, of course, the Democrats have gone well beyond Roe, which had some kind of provisions with regard to the viability of a fetus. No, forget about viability. They want abortion right up until the moment of birth.
Yes.
I know that they deny it, but it's a very simple thing to figure out. Just ask them what restrictions they would be okay with, and they won't tell you.
Right.
They won't tell you. And
in Virginia, you can ask Kathy Tran. There's plenty of videos of her. She's a a delegate in Virginia who said she wants abortion to be available to women up until birth. She said it on video. Just look it up.
They clearly think this entire election is going to be about abortion.
Yes.
That's what this is all about.
Yes.
This is what and I'm sure in some states they will win. But if we have Republicans and conservatives who can very clearly articulate their issues, this issue in an appropriate way, and put Democrats on the defensive about their position, and also, by the way, point out the fact that Joe Biden in 1982 voted as a senator to overturn Roe v. Wade. When he said that women don't have the sole right to say what happens to their bodies. That's what he said in 1982.
Yeah.
One wonders, I mean, that's a deeply held personal belief and conviction. So, what the hell changed, Joe? And I'll leave you with this. Be very afraid when the likes of Kamala Harris tell you the nuances, dogmas, and doctrines of your personal faith. Listen to this.
Let us all agree. One does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree the government should not be telling her what to do with her body.
I don't know about you. You all have to make your own personal decision about your soul's salvation. But me, personally, I'm not going to leave it up to the likes of Kamala Harris. I respectfully disagree. I believe one does, in fact, have to abandon their faith to vote the way she wants you to vote on this critical issue. And when Kamala said, oh, you don't have to abandon your faith, she's lying. She's literally lying to you. It is 7:24. If you
now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
7:36 now on O'Connor and Company. Coming up at 8:35, we're going to check in with John Andrasik, Five for Fighting. He's got some great hits over the years, and he's got a brand new song that reflects on the terror attacks of October 7th and also the disconcerting reaction in the Western world. That's coming up. I'm Larry O'Connor with Julie Gunlock. Julie, happy day after New Hampshire primary.
Yeah, happy day.
To help us sort through the reactions is an expert analyst of electoral politics. He is Sean Spicer, of course, former White House press secretary and host of the Sean Spicer Show, seen on all media platforms across the board. Good morning, Sean.
Good morning. I got to say, I assume you guys know who, I guess I'm just looking at this note here, Bill Hess is. It doesn't have a title. It just says Bill Hess. I got a note. Is that someone at your station?
Yeah, he's the boss.
Oh, okay. So anyway, I'm sorry he didn't put this title. But I got this really nice note in the mail yesterday. It said, hey, it's that time of the year. I'm going through W-2s. I'm surprised we're not sending one to you the way that you carry O'Connor and Company in the morning. But anyway, thanks for all your support, Bill Hess. And I'm like, who's this guy? I mean, it's the nicest note that to get something like that in the mail. But I didn't know who he was because he doesn't, but he didn't have a title. But it's so sweet to say that. I mean, it's true, but to get a note like that in the mail. So if you see Bill Hess, tell him I don't have his email, but I appreciate it. I agree with him, and I think
he's literally the nicest person in the business, in a business not known for nice people, by the way. Yeah. So I'm not surprised that he would bend over backwards to be generous to somebody who obviously needs a little bit of an ego lift at this point.
What has he done for you? Wait, what did he do for you?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to be so bad. I meant you, Sean. You're obviously in need of some kind of bullshit. He must have noticed something in your tone of your voice and said, you know what? Let me throw Spicer a bone, and we'll make him feel better.
Can we talk about the election?
Oh,
that's a good idea. Yeah.
Good.
So help me out here, Sean. Donald Trump won in 2016 by over 20 points. Last night he won by 11 points. Still a great victory and a double-digit victory. But Nikki Haley does have listen, I don't want Nikki Haley to get the nomination, frankly, but she has a narrative coming out of this that will appeal to the media, to moderates, to non-Republicans, and to donors, doesn't she?
So I think the interesting thing is I thought that last night. Well, I wondered about that is probably a better way of putting it last night, because I thought to myself, okay, they want her to continue and they want her to succeed. A couple of things. One, it was record turnout in New Hampshire last night. I was watching one interview as I flipped around the stations, and CNN had this one individual that got posted a bunch on social. The individual says, I went today and I didn't want Donald Trump to win, so I voted for Nikki Haley. And they said, okay, so then if it's Nikki Haley and Joe Biden in the general, who are you voting for? And he says, well, Joe Biden.
Right.
And the reason I bring that up is that, look, the headline, the lead of the Today Show this morning was, that Nikki Haley had a bad night. The headline in Politico says Nikki Haley failed, right? I'm actually, to be honest with you, a little shocked. I think that they really wanted her to do better and to carry on. I think they're letting her live and not critically wound her, but they even have to acknowledge that this is over because electorally the polls don't look good for her. And all of the win, listen, when you look at the results last night in New Hampshire, 43% of Nikki Haley's vote came from or of the total vote rather, came from independents and 6% came from Democrats. This is a Republican primary. If that's the best you're going to do in New Hampshire, right, and you look at where you go from now, South Carolina, then you go to basically Super Tuesday. I know D.C.'s in between. 874 delegates at stake on Super Tuesday. And most of them, the way the rules are set up right now, she can't give you a credible path forward. So she continues to maybe tread water, but we're wasting valuable time that we could be using to go up against Joe Biden right now. This is just money on all ends. She's sucking up donor money. He's spending donor money. The party's not able to unify and bring in the support and the resources we need. I get that she has a right to do this. If you're listening right now, she has a right to do it. But at the same time, I think one of the things about Ron DeSantis' confession speech that was so compelling is he said, I had an obligation to my supporters and my donors that if there wasn't a path forward to drop out. And the case that I would say to Nikki Haley is, okay, explain what that path is. She keeps saying, I'm going to South Carolina. Okay, there's not a poll that shows her less than 30 points down.
Right. Yeah.
So tell me what's going to happen. You're not even on the Nevada caucus ballot. So she's going to lose Nevada. That's coming up. That's getting overlooked. Then explain to me how you go on to Super Tuesday. And right now the answer is, well, we're going to take it one step at a time. There's no other operation that you would say, okay, let's just wing it.
Yeah. Yeah, Ronna McDaniel called for her to drop out. She wants her and others to consolidate behind Trump. You have Trump doing that already with he was on stage flanked by South Carolina political leaders. What's your opinion? How long is she going to stick it out here, Sean?
So, Julie, that's a great question because South Carolina is now, as of today, 30 days away, February 24th. That's a long time. So it's a long time for her to keep going because she's got to keep gas in the tank. She's got to get donors to convince donors to keep paying her staff for her ads, all that kind of stuff. And so and to your point, it's not just the state leaders. She's got the senators, Governor McMaster, the lieutenant governor, the Alan Wilson, the attorney general. She's got the he has all of those people. So even Nancy Mace saw the writing on the wall and jumped on. So I'm just telling you, and they had been, close. She had done some favors for Nancy and supported her during her primary. That this is not looking good.
No.
And if this was next Tuesday, I could say, okay, I see it. Might as well stay in for a week. It's a month away.
Yeah. Well, and we've learned her supporters yesterday were not Republicans. The majority of them were either undeclared or Democrats, and the majority of the money that she's getting are libertarian, if not full-on leftists. They're trying to hurt Donald Trump, and she's playing into that. Yeah. It's hardly a way to unify a party. Sean Spicer, we can leave it there.
Can I make one quick point? I thought tactically. What happened last night was actually tactically really smart of her. She realized that early on the cities, Manchester, Concord, and Nashua, were going to come in early, the suburbs of Boston, where she would have the closest, not lead if possible, right? And so that's why she got out early last night, made that speech, and then hightailed it out because she couldn't wait for the results. She was timing that so that it was as close as possible when she came out. But I get why she did it. Yeah.
This is why we like Sean Spicer. It's a very smart observation because she had that graphic on the screen of the percentage totals, and it made it look way closer than it ended up. Very smart observation. Like a broken clock, Sean Spicer is right occasionally through the day. Thank you, Sean.
Best to Bill Hess and everyone in the Hadid Carpet Cleaning Center. I will see you soon.
But we're not. It's a radio station, WMAL. Hadid is just about traffic, okay, and keeping your carpets clean.
That's okay. I'm sorry. That's where I just keep hearing everyone's in the Hadid Carpet Cleaning Center.
No, that's just Jamie Whitten. Thank you, Sean. It's 7:44.
Just Jamie Whitten. I love Jamie Whitten. Not just.
I didn't mean to diminish Jamie Whitten. I just meant she is
Jamie
the
Whitten,
only one.
I'm sending Uber Eats to Jamie Whitten.
Traffic and weather every 10
about
minutes.
me?
First on the 5s. Jamie Whitten, as you now all know, is in the Hadid Carpet Cleaning Traffic Center all by herself.
Yes, Sean, I love Uber Eats. All right, and as I am in the Hadid Carpet Cleaning Traffic Center, watching the traffic cameras closely.
All right, let's try to get some more news out for you. Matt Lewis, he used to call himself a conservative. I don't know where Matt Lewis is right now politically, but he had an analysis of the New Hampshire primary last night because Trump won it. He said, "We are not a serious country."
What? What was the clue?
How dare you voters do this? You're not serious now. Well, he's right. We're not a serious country, but not because of Donald Trump winning the nomination. We're not a serious country because of the news I'm about to share with you across this country with regard to how we allow criminals to run rampant on our streets. California, love this headline. California woman who fatally stabbed boyfriend 108 times receives probation community service.
Oh.
Washington, D.C. Robbery suspects charged after 13 guns, 4 pounds of meth found in Prince George's County home. CVS store to close after D.C. thieves ransack location for months, leaving shelves bare. That's the Columbia Heights 14th Street Northwest CVS that will be closing, by the way. They stole everything. We've got video footage of the bare shelves of people coming in and stealing everything, and there are still laws on the books right now that basically treat that as a lesser crime.
Yeah.
They're hoping to vote in a law that will treat this as a first class felony. But right now, DC doesn't care. They shrug at it because of systemic racism, of course.
You brought up some pretty stabbed 100 and sometimes that you brought up some sort of bigger crimes here, but there are little things. Right in Alexandria, Virginia, in Old Town, in the middle of the afternoon, a guy was robbed. They took his coat. Okay, it was one of those Canada Down coats, but it's little things too. This constant sense that you're not safe. Right. Carjackings, assaults. It's just So no, we're not a serious country anymore. He's right.
And the powers that be encourage this and deny the reality of it. That's elected officials and government officials and people in the media. But you know what? I have no sympathy for CVS. Listen to the statement that they put out. We've made the difficult decision to close our store in Columbia Heights on February 29th. All prescriptions will be transferred, blah, 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 blah. Maintaining access to pharmacy services in the communities we serve is an important factor we consider when we make store closure decisions. Other factors include local market dynamics, population shifts, community store density, and ensuring there are geographic access points to meet the needs of the community. In other words, they never actually said the truth in this statement. They're still worried about kowtowing to the politically correct Black Lives Matter majority who would be angry if they said the truth, which is, we are closing the store because you're robbing us blind.
Yes. And there's no courage among city leadership.
That's right. So CVS, as long as you're out there, at least In-N-Out Burgers, when they closed their store in Oakland, said, we're doing this because we're not safe here anymore.
Right.
CVS, I have no sympathy for you. I want more stores to close now because of this. It's 7:53.